Russian President Vladimir Putin has led commemorations marking National Unity Day in Moscow, a public holiday that celebrates the expulsion of Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth forces from the Russian capital in 1612. The ceremony took place at Red Square, the intective where President Putin laid flowers at the monument to Kuzma Minin and Prince Dmitry Pozharsky, two historical figures credited with rallying the militia that liberated Moscow more than 4 centuries ago. The event, held under the cold November sky, gathered senior government officials, representatives of Russia's major religious faiths, and members of patriotic youth organizations. It was organized by the presidential administration in coordination with the Moscow city government and broadcast nationally by the VGTRK state television network. As the ceremony began, President Putin was seen greeting Patriarch Kirill, head of the Russian Orthodox Church. The two exchanged brief words before proceeding to the monument. Religious leaders from the Muslim, Jewish and Buddhist communities also attended, standing alongside Orthodox clergy in a symbolic display of interfaith unity. Cameras captured the moment President Putin and Patriarch Kirill jointly placed a bouquet of red and white flowers at the base of the bronze statue. The monument, erected in 1818, remains a national symbol of solidarity and independence. For decades, it has served as the focal point of annual Unity Day observances. After the floral tribute, the president stood silently for several moments before turning to greet the assembled clergy and youth participants. Among those in attendance were members of various patriotic organizations, including UNAMIA and volunteer civic groups involved in historical and cultural education projects across Russia. Putin then posed for photographs with young participants and religious leaders. Images from the event show him speaking informally with members of youth movements who had gathered near the Kremlin wall. He appeared relaxed, smiling at several participants as they asked questions and presented small commemorative flags. Although no formal speech was delivered during the flower-laying ceremony, the symbolism of the event underscored themes that have long characterized Russia's official observances of National Unity Day: patriotism, continuity, and the defense of national sovereignty. National Unity Day was first introduced as a state holiday in 2005, replacing the Soviet-era commemoration of the 1917 revolution. The holiday honors the volunteer army led by Minin and Pozharsky, which expelled Polish forces from Moscow during the time of troubles, a period of dynastic crisis and foreign intervention in the early 17th century. The event marked the restoration of Russian self-rule and the beginning of the Romanov dynasty in 1613. In previous years, President Putin has used the occasion to emphasize unity among Russia's diverse ethnic and religious communities. While the 2025 ceremony was largely ceremonial and without formal remarks, the presence of the country's top religious figures and youth groups reflected the state's continuing emphasis on social cohesion. Patriarch Kirill, addressing reporters after the ceremony, described National Unity Day as a reminder that Russia's strength has always come from the unity of its people, regardless of their origin or faith. He added that the collaboration between the church and the state in preserving historical memory helps maintain moral and cultural stability in a complex global environment. Representatives of the Council of Muftis and the Federation of Jewish Communities also released short statements following the event. Mufti Ravil Gainutin noted that the holiday symbolizes the consolidation of the entire Russian nation around shared values and traditions, while Rabbi Berel Lazar called it an occasion to reflect on how unity and mutual respect have sustained the country through difficult times. Members of youth organizations who took part in the ceremony said they viewed the event as an opportunity to connect with the country's history. Several groups carried banners quoting the national motto, "Russia is our common home." Others wore traditional uniforms in the colors of the Russian flag, symbolizing generational continuity. The Red Square gathering lasted less than an hour, but followed a carefully choreographed schedule. After the official laying of flowers, groups of religious leaders and young volunteers took turns approaching the monument, each placing small wreaths in tribute. The national anthem played as the crowd stood in silence. For security reasons, public access to Red Square was temporarily restricted during the ceremony. Moscow police and presidential security officers maintained cordons around the area, while spectators gathered along the outer perimeter to observe. In addition to the Moscow ceremony, regional events were held across the country. In Nizhny Novgorod, the birthplace of Kuzma Minin, local officials organized a public reenactment of the city's 1,612 militia gathering. In St. Petersburg, Governor Alexander Beglov presided over a similar wreath-laying event at the monument to the heroes of the fatherland. Throughout the regions, churches, mosques and synagogues held special prayers for peace and unity. Back in Moscow, state television commentators highlighted the historical continuity of the holiday. Analysts noted that the monument to Minin and Pozharsky has long served as a symbol of collective resolve, both during times of invasion and in moments of national transformation. Archival footage played alongside the live broadcast showed earlier Unity Day celebrations, including those attended by veterans, school children and government officials. The report underscored how the tradition has evolved into a civic and cultural event that transcends religious boundaries. After the ceremony, President Putin spent several minutes conversing with members of youth movements, thanking them for their participation. According to official footage, he said Russia's younger generation should continue to uphold the country's traditions and remember those who defended its independence. His words echoed long-standing themes in Kremlin messaging about patriotism and historical consciousness. The president's appearance also coincided with a series of cultural programs across Moscow, including exhibitions on national history and performances by student choirs. The Ministry of Culture announced that more than 200 events were organized nationwide to mark this year's Unity Day, involving museums, educational institutions and volunteer organizations. In recent years, Unity Day has taken on added importance amid heightened geopolitical tensions. Officials have described the holiday as an expression of internal solidarity and a reaffirmation of national values. State media coverage emphasized cooperation among different faiths and the participation of youth as central to this year's theme. The monument itself, depicting Minin urging Prince Pozharsky into battle, has stood for over 2 centuries as a visual emblem of citizen-led resistance and leadership. Located at the foot of St. Basil's Cathedral, it remains one of the most visited landmarks in Moscow. Throughout the ceremony, the presence of Russia's most senior religious figures underscored the multi-faith dimension of the event. Alongside Patriarch Kirill stood Mufti Gainutin, Rabbi Lazar, and Pandito Kambo Lama Damba Ayushiv, head of the Buddhist Traditional Sangha of Russia. Together, they offered symbolic gestures of unity before the monument. The ceremony concluded with a final salute by the honor guard as the national anthem echoed across Red Square. Participants bowed their heads in silence. The president then departed the site, accompanied by his security detail and senior aides. Later in the day, the Kremlin press service released a short statement reiterating that National Unity Day serves as a reminder of the enduring values of patriotism, courage and mutual respect that define the Russian nation. The message emphasized the importance of historical memory as a foundation for national strength. The Russian Orthodox Church also issued a commemorative message through its official website, calling on citizens to pray for peace and to preserve unity in the face of external challenges. Patriarch Kirill, in his message, said the day should inspire gratitude for the past and responsibility for the future. By evening, Red Square reopened to the public, with visitors continuing to leave flowers at the monument. Police estimated several thousand people attended the surrounding festivities, which included concerts and exhibitions dedicated to Russian history and cultural heritage. Across television networks, coverage of the day's events highlighted the same message, a reaffirmation of unity, faith and patriotism as the pillars of the Russian state. Government channels emphasise youth engagement, showing students reciting historical poems and participating in civic education activities. While largely ceremonial, President Putin's participation remains a key element of the Unity Day tradition, Each year since 2005, he has taken part in the flower-laying ceremony, often alongside religious leaders, to symbolise continuity between the country's political leadership and its cultural institutions. The 2025 commemoration maintained that pattern, reflecting the state's ongoing effort to promote cohesion through shared national rituals. Officials noted that Unity Day continues to serve not only as a remembrance of past victories, but also as a celebration of collective identity across Russia's vast and diverse population. As the formal ceremonies concluded, the Kremlin's flag was illuminated in the evening light. Church bells rang from the nearby Cathedral of the Annunciation, and the flow of pedestrians gradually returned to Red Square. The day's final images showed the monument to Minin and Pozharsky surrounded by fresh bouquets, a simple, enduring tribute to a moment in Russian history that continues to define the nation's understanding of unity and resilience. National Unity Day in Russia ended with quiet reflection in Moscow and across the regions, a day honouring the spirit of solidarity that has shaped the nation for more than 4 centuries.
Заход забыл. Ну, нравится?
Очень.
Здорово. Мы тебе все завидуем. Для рыбачки. Ну, Тверскую область. Это мне очень хорошо знакомо. В этом смысле мы с тобой земляки.